What's the future of art? Who are the people who are shaping it? And what can we learn from them? Welcome everyone to the inaugural Art Basel Awards Summit. My name is Céline Milliard. I'll be your host today as we go through some short dynamic panel with some of the most inspiring voices in our industry and beyond. But before we start, it's my immense pleasure to welcome on stage the true architect of the Art Basel Awards, our very own Chief Artistic Officer, Vincenzo De Bellis. Please join me in welcoming Vincenzo.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you. Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Vincenzo De Bellis, and I'm their Chief Artistic Officer and Global Director of Fairs. It's a true privilege to welcome you to the first annual Art Basel Awards Summit, to what's not only a landmark moment for Art Basel and the Art Basel Awards, but it's also a significant occasion for the cultural field at large. As a chair of the Art Basel Awards, I'm honored to speak on behalf of a platform designed to recognize and support those who are shaping the most urgent and forward-looking currents in contemporary art today. Bringing an awards forward of this scale and specificity to life has been a journey. It began with a clear imperative. How can Art Basel extend its role to the walls of the fairs to make a lasting contribution to the future of our field? How can we deepen our impact as a vital actor in the infrastructure that enables and sustains bold artistic practices? Launched earlier this year, our Basel Awards is a first in the industry, a platform celebrating not only groundbreaking artistic practices, but also the broader ecology that makes them possible, from museum to curators to collectors, critics, non-for-profit spaces, community thinkers, art handlers, and studio teams. These are the individuals and institutions who give form, force, and continuity to the artistic production, who help shape the evolution of avant-garde expression. In this way, the awards reflects the true nature of how art is made and sustained today through expansive, often unseen network of care, exchange, collaboration that spans discipline, geographies, and generations. This year, we're proud to honor 36 extraordinary medalists. They come from all over the world, from Bogota to Berlin, from Qatar to Singapore. Today's summit brings many of them together and offers a rare opportunity to hear from them directly. We'll gain insight into their respective practices, their shared divergent preoccupation, and how they see their work in dialogue with wider social, political, and aesthetic forces. Through this conversation, we're invited to understand not only where artistic thought is today, but where it's headed, and to consider how these voices are collectively defining the future of contemporary art. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the exceptional network of people who shaped this process and without whom the awards would not have been possible. The 2025 medalists were first nominated by an anonymous group of 20 observers, specialists embedded across the 5 continents and every corner of the industry. From that pool, our medalists were selected by a world-class jury, of which I had the privilege to serve as a chair. This panel includes 9 leading curators and museum directors. Ural Kasimi, President and Director of the Sharjah Foundation, Elena Filipovic, Director of the Kunstmuseum Basel, Koyo Kuo, the late Executive Director and Chief Curator at Zeitz Mocha in Cape Town, Jessica Morgan, Director of the Art Foundation, Anthony Cobrist, Artistic Director of Serpentine, London, Adriano Pedrosa, Artistic Director of MASPI, Sao Paulo, Suanya Rafael, she's here with us today, Museum of Director of M+ Hong Kong, and Franklin Sirmans, Director of the Paris Art Museum, Miami. And last, but not least, Philippe Tinari, Director and Chief Executive of UCCA Beijing. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to our presenting partners, Boss, core brand of the renowned fashion house Hugo Boss. The Hugo Boss Group has a long track record of championing contemporary art and continues to create new avenues for dialogue and experimentation. We're deeply grateful to our partners of the canton of Basel-Stadt, the birthplace of this enduring art of our Basel, whose long-standing commitment and ensure that Basel remains a leading force in the international art scene. Equally instrumental have been our partners in the city of Miami Beach and the Greater Miami Convention and Visitor Bureau, whose steadfast support and collaboration continue to expand the impact and reach of our Basel and our Basel Awards at the front of public culture, innovation, and global artistic exchange. Thank you again for all being here. And now I have the pleasure to introduce Kasper Sutter, member of the government of Basel. Thank you.
Grazie mille Vincenzo, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, egregi signore, signori. I warmly welcome you here at this summit in the name of the government of Basel. So the Art Basel Week is here, it is in Basel, and you can feel it everywhere. When you arrive, you see the flags, you can go to the shows, you see everything is in a short distance, and you can also see this art, this wonderful art, not just in the infrastructure of the fair, you can also see it in the public space. So you all have seen the powerful piece in the square just outside by Katharina Grosse, and you can also do the Art Basel parkour by Stefanie Hessler, which is all around in the old town of our wonderful city. But why is the Art Basel in Basel? How comes that this most important art fair is in our city? For this, you have to go quite a long journey back, because we are a fair town for more than 550 years by the Emperor of Germany, who gave us this right more than 550 years ago. And we are an art city. We have the oldest public collection of art. Almost 400 years ago, the city bought the Amobach's cabinet, which is today our Kunstmuseum, and you will hear our director, Elena Filipovic, later on in this summit. And then in 1970, 3 gallerists of Basel, they brought these 2 heritages of Basel together, and they founded the Art Basel as a fair for modern art. And from then on, it takes this path of success and growth, and it's the Art Basel how it is in these days. So from Basel then, it also spread to other regions of the world, to Miami Beach, to Hong Kong, to Paris, and next year it will go to Qatar. So it all started here in the heart of Basel, and then it took this wonderful way. So a whole week of great art, a fantastic program, of great atmosphere, of exchanges with fascinating people, and lots of inspiration. And we are grateful that Art Basel takes place in Basel. Art Basel originated here, it's the mother fair. And there are also our strengths in these days. You have the short distances, you have all the museums, you have all the side shows and other places which are here. And you also have the large exhibition space and solid infrastructure where Art Basel can show all these pieces of art. It's also for us important that we continue to work, that the Art Basel will also be in the future a success here in our city. And I think it's also important that there are always new things and the developments in the way how Art Basel is shown and works. And so I'm very grateful that this year we have for the first time the Art Basel Awards and the Art Basel Awards Summits. That's also the reason why we as the government are supporting this new show, this new event, this summit where you're all participating today. So I want to thank the team who organized this awards summit. I also thank you that you're all here. I also thank all the speakers and persons which will be afterwards on stage. So I wish you a good summit, enjoy it, enjoy the rest of Art Week, and enjoy Basel. Thank you very much. And I ask on stage Maike Kruse, the director of the Art Basel in Basel. Thank you.
Thank you, Caspar.
Hi, Maike.
Thank you very much, Caspar. Good morning, guten Morgen, happy birthday, Ibrahim. Good morning, everybody. I'm Maike Kruse. I'm the director of Art Basel in Basel, and also for me, it's a true pleasure to welcome you to the first Art Basel Awards Summit taking place in the heart of our show. As Caspar noted, Basel has a centuries-long history as a center of artistic innovation and intellectual exchange. Today, as we gather again in Basel, we are reminded once again of the city's enduring role as a cultural crossroad, not just for Europe, but for the world. This further reinforced by the year-long presence of Art Basel and now the Art Basel Awards. Created in collaboration with the Canton of Basel-Stadt, the awards reflect our mission to build a forward-looking public program here in Basel in our show. They bring together leading voices and outstanding talent from the international art world concentrated here in Basel, and this initiative elevates the Fair Week through dynamic thought leadership, programming, and the engagement of new cross-industry audiences. Together, these efforts further reinforce Basel's position as a leading cultural hub, and for over 5 decades, the Basel show here has been the beating heart of Art Basel. It remains the defining moment on the global arts calendar, a place where artists, galleries, museum professionals, institutional and cultural leaders connect and reconnect. We just heard from Caspar how easy it is to reconnect in this intimate city of Basel. Alongside the discussions you'll hear today, we are proud to present an ambitious program of artistic presentations in the halls, featuring 289 galleries from 42 countries, both within our halls and through the streets of the city at parcours all along Klara-Straße. We invite you to explore it all, and we wish you a day, a week, and a weekend full of artistic discovery, inspiration, and delight here in Basel. Thank you very much, and welcome again.
Thank you, Maike. Thank you, Caspar. Thank you, Vincenzo. And thank you all for being here. I can't tell you how special it is for all of us to see such a crowd gathered for the inaugural Art Basel Awards Summit. We're going to start with a double session, which is dedicated to the reason why we are all here, which is our love of artists. And with 2 panels that are celebrating artists. And first, we'll have the great privilege of welcoming on stage Cecilia Vicuña. Thank you very much for being with us. Cecilia, who is a wonderful artist, poet, activist, and speaking to a very long-standing friend of the Art Basel organization, Elena Filipovic, the director of Kunstmuseum Basel. So I'll invite them on the stage as soon as, in 1 minute. Get ready. And this panel, be prepared, is going to be immediately followed by another great panel entitled Radical Reimaginings, gathering 2 fabulous artists, Lydia Urrachman and Ibrahim Mahama, who've been nominated in the Emerging and Established Artists category, respectively. Please join me in giving them a warm welcome. And this exchange will be moderated by the one and only Hans-Ulrich Obrist, the brain of the Talks program in its original form at Art Basel, and an accomplice and friend. So stay for that. But now, I'm delighted to hand over to Elena. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's my great honor today to be in conversation with Cecilia Vicuña, poet, artist, activist, visionary. For more than 5 decades, Vicuña has given form to what others so often forget or overlook: the fragility of language, the persistence of memory, the power of ancestral knowledge, and the urgent intelligence of the land. Her practice, both sculptural and literary, is radically open. It's spanning ephemeral installations, spoken word, performance, and environmental activism. It's been featured in Documenta, the Venice Biennale, and at institutions from the Malba in Buenos Aires to the Guggenheim in New York, and including the Tate Turbine Hall Commission just 2 years ago. Born in Chile, shaped by exile, and guided by what she calls precario, the poetics of impermanence, Vicuña's work has long stood at the intersection of ecology, feminism, activism, and indigenous thought, long before those terms were trendy. She teaches us that vision does not always mean prediction. It can also mean remembering what others have chosen to forget. And today we're in a world that's marked by ecological collapse, by political fragmentation, linguistic loss, and it's at this moment precisely that Vicuña's work feels like less like a body of work and more like a body of mourning or a body of care. So without further ado, I'll get to some questions. I want to start with, you're amongst the artists recognized for being an icon, a visionary. And I'm struck by how in reading you in interviews, you've often spoken about being guided by what you call the not yet, a kind of felt sense of what's to come. I wonder what it means for you to be visionary. And must a visionary always look forward?
Do you hear me? My voice is always soft. And with the noise, do you hear the noise? That's all of us. So, you hear me? Okay, good. So, when you invoke the word vision, my first thought is the vision is not ours. The vision comes to us. The vision, therefore, comes to us from all of you. It comes from everybody. It comes from all of us, and that all of us includes our ancestors and the people who are not yet born. So this all of us are manifesting in common a desire to live. And to me, this desire to live that we all share is sacred. This is what consciousness is. We're all endowed with consciousness. And this consciousness is the only thing that can bring us forward. That's what it means, the word vision, for me.
And as you speak, I think of the world we're living in, which is this moment of speed, of immediacy, of a time span of an Instagram story being the measure for so many of time. And your work, on the other hand, foregrounds slowness, fragility, care, an entirely different sense of time. I wonder if you see that as a form of resistance or can speak about what time means for you in your work.
How lovely. Elena, before we came here, she asked me if I had read her questions, and my answer was, your questions are so beautiful, it's like they answered themselves. And it is true, don't you think? What is time? Okay, time, the word time is a conundrum. It means, it comes from the root in Latin, which is also Proto-Indo-European, tem, which means to cut. And yet time is considered to be a continuum. So what is it? Is it a cat or a continuum? You see? And it's both at once. And that is what we are. We have the ability to be in absolute speed. Think of the runners. But speed, true speed, is only possible if you are completely quiet, if you are completely in a slowness beyond description. And so I very often begin my performances by saying, welcome to the moment, because in the word instant, as in Instagram, there is also this contradiction, and I have a book written on this contradiction in the word instant. In is the movement forward. You're going into a place. And stand is the same word as constant, as a star is what is constant. So you are in the possibility of this movement forward and in the constancy of your behavior, of your constant allegiance to what is sacred, to what is worth living for. So my work is slow, yes, but it has a speed like a demon, you know, so it has both. Because when it appears to me, I know I have to do it fast, because if I don't do it fast, it will slip away.
The speed of a demon, I love it. Your practice brings together, on the one hand, indigenous cosmologies, along with an ecological awareness, into the space of contemporary art. And I wonder, how do you see the role of ancestral knowledge in reimagining the future? And when you answer that, I would love that you tell this audience something that you told me backstage that blew my mind about where you were and what you were doing at age 15 and how that connects to ancestral knowledge.
Yes, thank you, Elena. Yes, it's true that when she asked me if this was my first time in Switzerland, I said no. Last time I was invited here, it was by CERN. And why did CERN invite Cecilia to come here? Because of my love of quantum physics and astrophysics. And so I was invited to spend 3 days in conversation with the scientists. And I think they blew my mind, and I think they were blown away by the correspondence between indigenous thought and astrophysics and quantum physics. And that is what I discovered as a teenager. I was still in high school when I learned that the Universidad Federico Santa Maria, which is a technical university that forms mostly male engineers and scientists, had this summer course called Cybernetics and Fantasy. And I, of course, joined in. And when they learned that I was a teenager, I was perhaps one of the few women present in the seminar that lasted for the summer. They say, okay, you can come along with your mother. So it's like we were still in the 19th century, you see. So there is my mother, who was pretty and divine woman. And so it was absolutely wonderful. And so I learned about cybernetics. And already back then, I was totally passionate for indigenous thought. I'm a child of the 60s, and it was in the 60s that real passion among Westerners began for indigenous ideas. The notion that the land does not belong to us, but we belong to the land. For example, it was a struggle of North American Indians that really had a tremendous success in bringing forth these ideas through publications, through films, through really they were pioneers among indigenous nations, as I see it, because of course I was also learning from the indigenous people of Chile. And I always thought that I was indigenous, but my parents didn't know anything about this, and they said, why do you think you're Indian? And I just said, well, let's just look in the mirror. And later in my life, when I was in my 50s, I got, as a present, my DNA. And sure enough, my mother line is indigenous. So the notion that indigenous belongs in the future is as old as humanness. And it's only for us, people in the West, to catch up to the notion that, it is forward thinking that belongs with indigenous people who have been defending their territories forever. And in Latin America, after 500 years of oppression, persecution, massacres, you still have them as the leaders, especially the girls, especially the old women. And to me, that is pure beauty. And is their beauty that we need to defend. There's no art without the true beauty of defending the land.
Wow. What you were just saying connects to something I once read that you wrote about the condition of exile, or rather you said, exile is not a place, but a condition. And I wonder how exile, in your case, has shaped your imagination, but also your understanding of home, belonging, and future, since you've just blown my mind with this crisscrossing of quantum physics from ancestral pasts to future.
Thank you. Yeah, exile has certainly shaped my life completely. You know that I grew up in the countryside until I was 9 years old. And back then, it existed the notion that the children did not need caretaking. In other words, we were let loose in the countryside to play with the creatures, to disappear in the forest, and that made me. And so when people, my mother was a civilized a Western lady, and she didn't know she was an Indian. And if she would have known, she would be shocked. But in any case, when she presented the little girl, and the little girl started to speak, that would be me, the people asked, "And you, my darling, where are you from?" So that sense that I didn't speak like everybody else was always present in me. But then, when I was 9, I was removed from the countryside to live in Santiago, the colonized Western city. And to me, that was a horrible shock, because the other kids thought that I was weird and bullied me, So I had to somehow get a strength from my own imagination, and that's when I became a writer. I was 9 years old when I realized I was a writer, And I had been an artist. My mother says even before speaking, I was already painting. And so it's a wonderful thing that kids are allowed to be artists even before they speak, because they have it in them. All children have it in them. And when the military coup came in Chile, I was 24 years old. I was a student of art in London. And that was the most brutal exile that I had endured until then. But already I had some training in holding on to my imagination and my heart, despite the horror of not being acknowledged or perceived. Because if you're a dark little girl in Chile, you are not a human being. You are not a person fully. And when I was in London, I was also perceived as a non-person because I was small and dark. So this notion of not being seen as fully human strengthened my humanness. And I think this is the only possibility for me, that if you are taken away what is most precious to you, you have to hold it even dearest in your heart.
Hearing you, we realize how much in everything you do, your writing, your art making, but also the way you are with us here today, you carry with you a legacy of protest and political resistance. And I wonder, for someone like you, how do you hold space, on the one hand, for grief and rage? There's a lot to be enraged about. There's a lot to be sad about in this moment that we're living, but also, and this I feel so strongly in your work, how do you still leave room for joy, for discovery, for poetry, for renewal?
You see, her questions, aren't they fantastic? That's the wonderment about being human, that we really have the capacity to hold at the same time, probably not in the very moment, grief, rage, and joy. If we somehow believe or feel that it is completely possible to be in absolute grief, in absolute rage, and in absolute joy, then we can hold on to our humanness. And I believe I had a very powerful training for this because of my family. My grandfather, Carlos Vicuña Fuentes, had been in prison 4 times before I was born. He actually wrote a book that is called, never been translated, is called 4 evasiones novelescas de las prisiones políticas de Chile. That would be something like 4 novel-like escapes from the political prisons of Chile. That was my grandfather. And because he had endured that, when the Second World War occurred, Chile was one of the few countries that admitted exiles from the Spanish Republic that had been persecuted by Franco, and also from the Jewish people escaping the Holocaust. So my family welcomed both these political exiles. And so they became part of the large entourage or family. So welcoming desperate immigrants was part of my family tradition. And so these people who spoke weirdly and who were very different from us became my uncles and my aunts. So that opened my heart to the pain of others, you know. And so I think if we have that sympathy, that empathy in ourselves, we can certainly go through the horrendous violence and cult of hatred that we're seeing sprouting all over the world. And it is just through that human kindness that I think all political resistance and all protest really comes from. It comes from love. And that love is a form of rage that, for example, in Tibetan Buddhism, the most powerful Buddhas are the raging Buddhas. And I take from that, and I remember when we had the cultural revolution in Chile in 2019, which was called El Estallido Social, when people led by young Chilean girl teenagers to protest the horrendous system that we have in Chile of brutal unfairness that is a legacy of the dictatorship. What they picked up a poem of mine to be one of their banners. And this poem was a 1-line poem. It says, "Tu rabia es tu oro." Your rage is your gold. And why did they pick up that line? You see, because it was a raging movement, but that behaved as total love. It was a peaceful movement. So it is really rage metamorphosized into total love.
Beautiful. You've just illustrated so beautifully the central role that language plays, both in your beginnings as a 9-year-old little girl to where you are today. And I wonder, you're someone who invents words, performs poems, threads, weaves threads into space. And I wonder, from this beginnings of language to the present, how would you say the combination of an interest in language and land, how has this formed you? and where has it taken you in your practice?
Did you say language and art or language and land?
Land.
Ah, you see how
Language and
fantastic.
land.
She did not say language and art. That is beautiful that you said language and land, because art really comes from that combination, you know? Because if you look at, I'm a passionate person about art of all ages, and I love the idea that Basel was a place that held art precious for 5 centuries. That is unique, I would say. And of course, indigenous cultures don't have a word for art because everybody becomes the art in ceremony, in ritual, in the art of being, you know. So that's why I think indigenous cultures are the teachers, the real teachers of how art, land, and language, they have to be one for us to become fully human. Because language is perhaps our most extraordinary conundrum, because the words themselves are full of mystery. They are constructions of paradox. And even Sigmund Freud noted that. You know that it is through contradiction and through the fact that you cannot name most of what we feel, that is the fuel of language. The fact that it's almost an impossibility. And when we see the distortion of the use of the language of hatred to reduce humanity or to reduce our potential, you see it's a form of language or violence against language itself, which is a deep violence against being. And so the violence against the land, the violence against language and art is one. And for example, in many places, freedom of expression is being lost. So how can we have art when freedom of expression is lost? So we have to hold on to the unity that you have suggested, you know, between land, language, and art.
We do. I'll ask you one last question. In what has already been so moving about hearing your reflection on your practice, and I'm struck by the fact that you seem to make works that are like offerings rather than monuments or solid, thick, stable, unshakable things. And I wonder, what do you think we need less of in the future? And what do we need to restore as maybe our way to wrap up this beautiful conversation?
Thank you so much. An offering is a response. And if you look at the word respond, if you open it up and you look at its history as its ancient etymology, re is repetition. The word reality also responds to that idea of repetition, reality. Res is thing in Latin, you know. And so pond, of course, is a pond. So to me, this is also a creative etymology. And so to respond is to libate, to offer again. And to me, the key to our possibility of changing the direction of destruction of the world that we are involved in is our responsibility. So to respond and to offer is really a key, because how can we become responsible for our breath, for our need to eat and drink water, and transform that responsibility into a change to stop destruction? That, to me, is the call of us as humans right now, because otherwise we all know, and this relates to your first question, what is the not yet? The not yet is that we know the catastrophe is incoming. We all know it. So why can we not bring up our response, our dignity in our responsibility? So that is my response to you and to all of you. Gracias, amigos.